CataractCoach.com, the Best of Cataract Coach course from the ASCRS in Boston 2024.
And then prolapse it up and get it above the iris. Da-da-da, CataractCoach.com, next page.
Da-na-na. But how do you get a big rexus if you have a small pupil?
Jedi Mind Force, you can do it underneath it.
Oh.
I'll show you.
You should show us a video.
It's coming. It's coming up. So here you go. Here's a case of some iris prolapse. So watch what happens here. So some hydrodissection, fluid going in.
Oh, you can see
viscous is coming out.
Here it comes.
What's going to happen to that iris?
I don't blot the lens down. Oh, God.
So what's your next move? Push the iris back. More viscoelastic. Release trap BSS. Do pars plana tap. What are you going to do here, panel?
Release your trap BSS.
By doing what? You were saying blot?
The lens down. Let
Push
the
the-
fluid come up and over. Because you've got too much posterior pressure. I mean, you've talked about this. There's too much posterior pressure, and that's what's pushing the iris.
So what did I do wrong? Too much BSS?
Yep. Yes, too much fluid.
And also you want to make your incision a little bit more anterior to get less prolapse.
Would you start more in the clear cornea then?
Yeah, a little bit, just in these cases.
Okay, and so you wouldn't do it, so you want no more viscoelastic. What about that? So normally the resident technique is like, well, put more viscoelastic and push the iris back in.
No, you want to decrease the pressure gradient.
So solve the gradient.
Yeah, and then the iris will go back. Iris, like you taught us, Uday, the iris always follows the pressure gradient.
Right, so in this case I put way too much BSS to do the hydrodissection. As a result, I highly pressurized behind the iris, and obviously in front of the iris the pressure is very low, and so the iris prolapsed out of the eye. And probably the first hint was you saw the nucleus come up,
Yeah.
and then you saw viscoelastic being burped out of the incision. So that's already there. I probably should have stopped and said, wait a minute, let me not continue on this path. But there is an easy way, right? So like you said, we'll just blot the lens, release that trap BSS, and I can solve this with literally a second. And so here you go. There it comes out of the eye, and then just blot it. Look, there you go.
Boom.
Done. So releasing that pressure gradient. And here I'll just bring the nucleus up. So this is what I do, like you said, for an M6 case. Yeah, same way. I don't mind bringing it up out of the bag. And so here, there's more viscoelastic, okay? I put some extra in.
Thank you.
And I'll just chop this, and it's luckily a Beverly Hills cataract, so it's not too dense. And I can just aspirate it pretty easy. But again, here's the issue. There's the viscoelastic coming out of the eye, so I'll just release it, and the iris will go back in. So again, there it is coming out of the eye. Too much. There comes the iris, and there it is. And so all I do is just lift up on the nucleus or blot it, get that released BSS out. There it is. And then, with no pressure gradient, iris goes back in the eye. But now, of course, the rest of the case, this iris is going to be very mad at me, and this pupil is going to come down now. So now, this pupil will now punish me. So here's another interesting case. There's what we're starting with. And just kind of get your idea what you're going to do here. And we're going to have a fun case here. Not sure why we're in slow motion. Okay, how do you deal with that pupil? Inject more pharma agents. Use pupil expansion ring or hooks. Pupil stretching. Quit complaining, get the case done. What do you do in that case? That exact case.
So I always use more epi, like I use Lidofen.
You did it and nothing happened. Now,
All right.
will you do B, C, or D?
So I love the Malugan ring. I usually use that. But it depends what is the patient on Flomax? Like what's the deal?
Pseudo-X.
Oh, Pseudo-X. Okay, so then you have to decide. Typically, if the pupil doesn't dilate very well, you're suspecting that the zonules are also going to be problematic. So those two things seem to go hand in hand in Pseudo-X cases. So in that case, if you're not sure about the zonular integrity, you may want to use iris hooks.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What are you, Rosa?
So I do inject the phenylephrine because it keeps the iris more rigid, regardless. If it's a Flomax case, I would put in a ring. Because it's a Pseudo-X case and it's a good 4mm pupil, I would just quit complaining and get the case done.
That's kind of my feeling too, but I guess it depends on the case.
Depends on the case.
Depends on what the etiology is behind the pupil.
Yeah.
Because if it's a Flomax iris and it's 4mm, it's coming down.
Right.
If it's a Pseudo-X case and it's 4mm, it's not moving. But then be cognizant and just make sure you know what your zonules are doing.
Yeah, I think it's important. For small pupils, Flomax ones are way different than Pseudo-X
Yes.
ones.
100%.
Yes.
Very, very different. All right, let's see what they did here. So there we go. I'm going to do a little pupil stretch. A little bit there, a little bit in the other direction. But you're right. If it was a Flomax type pupil and we're stretching it out,
You're going to make it worse.
it's going to
Yeah.
right. It'll become worse. So that's probably enough of a stretch. I don't need much more than that. Now I'll use that Osher technique of viscomydriasis, just injecting viscoelastic. And now that's a much more reasonable pupil.
Yeah.
And from this point, I think I can just get the rexes done and call this a day. So there's my forceps are marked off at 2.5 and 5 millimeters. Here's how I do that rexes. I just go, you know where it is. Just use the Jedi Mind Force. So this rex is going to be a little bit bigger than that pupil. And that viscomydriasis that we did is obviously just temporary. As soon as I get the viscoelastic out of the eye, that's not going to last.
Whoa.
So let's see what we do here now. So here, I want that nucleus up a bit.
So gentle hydrodissection.
Gentle, gentle. Look, there it is. Did it. And so now more visco. My cornea people love me.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that. You keep your cornea guy in business.
Yeah. I would love working near you.
But there we go. It's not a very dense cataract. I assure you the cornea is absolutely clear the next morning. And you can check out if the yellow cell comes out. Look at this case. I make a para. As soon as I make a para, I'll inject some anesthetic and some phenylephrine and some epinephrine, and look what happens.
Oh, yeah. This is a Flomax iris.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
How could you tell right away?
Because of what it did. Right there. And the waves, when you inject, it's all those little waves that occur.
So what do I do now? Inject more
Flappy,
agents?
Flappy.
Pupil expansion ring hooks, pupil stretching, quit complaining, get the case done.
Yes, you need a pupil expansion ring.
Yep.
So
you
now
don't.
for sure you do
Yep.
it.
100%.
What about hooks?
I mean, you could use
Yeah.
hooks. They just take more time to put in. So you could use hooks, and what's important is to do it as Tom Oeding described in the diamond configuration, with one hook underneath your main incision. So you pull the iris down and under, and you do it like that in a diamond. But I just find a pupil expansion ring just so much quicker to put in.
I
me.
agree. Yeah, I do the same.
So is that when you see that sign at the beginning, if it's iris prolapse through the para, like
You're
immediately
going to have
just open the
trouble
ring.
the whole case if you don't put something in and control that iris.
So now you're thinking like, I'm going to do choice D, right?
You are, I bet.
No, I am a good student. I learn, I listen. I'm going to put in a pupil expansion ring because you taught me this last year. So here you go. An extra para. Because who told me? Extra para doesn't ever hurt, right? Yeah, extra para. Done. Get that back in the eye, pretend it didn't happen. And now some viscoelastic. And I'll make our incision. We're sitting superiorly here because this patient's got a bit of sill with the rule, and I want to make the incision on that axis. So we'll make the incision here, and yeah, I'll put in the expansion ring, for sure, for sure. And then the way I like to put the ring in, you saw I put little tiny aliquots of viscoelastic underneath the iris. So there's the leading eyelid, here are the two side ones. I'll adjust the iris here, make sure I get, there you go. I got 3 done, and then there's the 4th one, bam, done.
Nice.
So all in one, get that thing done. Rest of the case is pretty normal. Look, chopping in the bag, see, in the bag.
Woo! All right.
And so here comes the lens going in the capsular bag, end the case. Now the eye's still full of viscoelastic. Here's how I just take the ring out, and you tell me if you do it differently. I'll just disinsert it here. Oh, there's the opposite incision. We're doing paired incisions for a sill treatment.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, just full thickness paired incisions.
Yeah, I just take off actually the one, the
Distal one?
proximal one. I just remove the one and then reinsert, and then everything else is controlled and comes in. Oh, you do it that way.
And I just grab it anywhere and just get rid of it. Was that okay?
That was very innovative. I don't know if the cornea got scratched.
Oy, oy, you guys are tough. Okay, now how are you going to deal with this case? This is a patient sent to you, had cataract surgery done a year ago. Number one is give the other surgeon the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Because this could have been me operating or you operating, so don't be a hater. No. So how do you address the iris damage? Do nothing and blame the patient for having ugly protoplasm. Hey, I know that one. Recommend a cosmetic contact, pupiloplasty, iris suturing, refer for prosthetic iris implant.
Yeah. Pupiloplasty would be great in this case. You can just close that up. The patient will be super happy. I think it'll work great.
Yeah, if you've got enough tissue there
Yeah.
to look like you did to cover up all the little strands there.
Right.
So that's
And when you do
You'll be a
this
hero.
patient's other eye has a cataract. Other eye's fake with a cataract. When you do that other eye, what's going to happen? Same thing. Iris prolapse, right?
No, not if you preempt it.
Yeah.
No. I'm just saying. But giving the first surgeon the benefit of the doubt. When I see a case like that, I just think the first surgeon had to deal with some really ugly protoplasm.
Right, but you're not.
And so, when you do the second eye, yes, you have the benefit of knowing it's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
But still, you're going to face challenges with the iris.
You probably will, but have your plan ready.
No, for sure. My point is, I just want to give the first surgeon the benefit of the doubt.
Always, you never know what the circumstances
Right.
were. I would never say anything bad about a surgeon. Only
Except
because,
me.
Well, it's so easy with you, though.
So here we go. We got our guest surgeon here doing a good job, doing a little pupiloplasty
great.
here.
Yep.
And so key on this one too is just again making it kind of match the other eye, having it look reasonable from conversation distance. Now this iris is super thin,
That's the
and
problem.
you can cheese wire through it pretty easily. So you really got to be a little easy. And look, as he's tightening this up, it's creating what looks like peripheral iridotomies there, and that's because just the iris is that wimpy. And the tough part here is these patients with these really light-colored irises, they are just fragile
Yeah.
and delicate.
And so for the other eye, you also want to make a longer incision, like DP said in the first cases. You don't want a shallow incision. And in fact, what you might want to do is even a scleral tunnel incision or something that might just go up into the cornea to make sure that the iris doesn't come out. And you can preemptively put an iris hook subincisionally to make sure
that's a
iris
good.
doesn't come
I think a
out.
subincisional iris hook would be a great idea.
They did a lovely job sewing this up with such a thin iris.
Right. So look, and I'll show you the end here. The case looks pretty good. Patient's pretty happy. This is that fourth row pupiloplasty. Not a difficult technique. Something you should definitely learn how to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you should never say anything bad about another surgeon because they may, help you in the long run. You never
For
know
sure.
where your patient goes.
And there's the post-op, pretty
nice.
good.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
So nice result
Good
there.
save. Are we going to talk about how you took out that Mel Eugen ring?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, because
Did you love it?
it was so scary. No,
Why?
I didn't. I'm still a little
It
shattered.
was totally planar. It didn't come anywhere near the endo.
No. Okay, so that's completely unpredictable how that's going to fold back in. Sometimes it can actually just pop off and just, ricochet all over the anterior chamber. So just do it in a more controlled way. I think what I do is I just disengage the distal loop first, and then I rotate it out to get minimal pigment release. And then I actually like to put the injector back in, grab the loop, and it just all comes in. I let the two loops come together
That's
like
what I
this
did. I put
and pull it out. No, you did not. And so this is like very controlled, very predictable. It works. It's very elegant. Instead of just pulling it out of the eye, you know exactly what's going to happen.
But I sucked it back up in the injector.